Hey YouTube, I recently did a plug and wire change on my Z06 and wanted to talk a little bit about plug wires and what I ended up going with. Again, this is a very subjective, opinionated topic, and there's plenty of plug wires out there that work just fine for an LS7, whether it's stock or modified. Everybody has their favorites, everybody has good and bad experiences. Usually on the forums you hear more about the bad experiences than the good. Most people don't review good products. They usually just talk about their bad experiences. So you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. I used Firecore 50 wires. My car previously had stock AC Delco wires like you can see here. These are actually a newer set of wires that I had put on. I got a good deal on Amazon. I don't remember the part number, but they're the stock AC Delco wires that fit in most LS engines. Reason I went with Firecore and spent a little bit of extra, I got them from a company in Florida. I think it's UPR products. They were about $120. Reason I went with them, a couple of reasons. One, obviously all the good reviews. You don't see many bad reviews of Firecore. They make wires for a lot of different applications and a lot of high-end sports teams and cars, you know, Top Fuel and such use that brand. So obviously they got to kind of know what they're doing in order for that to happen. There's nothing wrong with the stock wires. There's a couple drawbacks to them, but if we just get into that a little bit, you can see here the wire itself is really short. The red part, obviously, there's only maybe 2.5 inches of wire. The rest are, you know, the boot on each end for the spark plug and the coil pack connection. And that's fine. It's a tight fit. It can be a little bit of a knuckle buster to get them off and on if you've changed wires a lot. So in that regard, they're not so great. But in terms of performance and longevity and quality, I think they're a pretty good wire. You know, the connections, everything is good. I've never had any major issues with them. Some people talk about wires coming off their Corvettes and their engines are getting loose and they throw like cylinder misfire codes. I'm not sure how that really happens unless you don't put them on correctly, or you don't burp the air out of them maybe when you're connecting, or the connector itself in the wire is bad so it doesn't clip on, you know, tightly. But I'm kind of at a loss of why guys have wires that just fall off, or they say they just touch them and that just literally falls off the coil or the plug. It's either user error or there's something wrong with the wire itself. But moving on, the Firecores, you can see here, they're all black. I got the 135 degree spark plug ends. Sorry I don't have a wire to show you up close other than them being installed in the car here. But they're the 135 degree. I think the wire is a little bit thicker. I think these stock ones are 8.5 millimeter. Or maybe it's just the insulation, but the wire itself, that part of the plug wires are a little bit thicker, just based on what I can see. I didn't take any measurements. So whether it's more insulation or the wire itself is thicker, it's a little bit higher quality. The boots are very similar, other than the angle of the spark plug end. They're very similar to stock, which you'd expect. The one nice thing, jumping into the installation of them, getting these guys off was a pain. They're really tight. I don't know if it's just because they were newer or what, but trying to get them on and off, I busted a few knuckles for sure. And left some skin in the engine here somewhere. They're just kind of tough to get on and off, even if you use the lube and all that stuff. There's still, it's the actual wire connection itself and the suction inside the boot and all that put together, they're really hard to get on and off. And that's probably true of most wires after they've been on an engine for a while. The nice thing about the Firecores is they went on like butter, especially the spark plug ends. As most of you know, the spark plug ends of the wire have one click onto the plug. And the coil end has 2 clicks, or it's supposed to click twice at least. And I don't know if you can see this, but see there's like 2 little dots on the boot here for the coil end. I don't know if that means 2 clicks or what, because on the GM ones or the AC Delco ones, you can see 4 dots. I'm not sure if that's Morse code or Braille or what's going on there, but it could just be coincidence. But anyway, the Firecores, the spark plug ends went on super easy, almost too easy. Like you could barely hear the click and feel it, but once they're on there, they're on. You move it around and you try to pull it off, they're not coming off just by using light pressure. So that was really nice. Getting the coil ends on, obviously that's the tougher part. I use just one of these little chisel poker things with anything thin, toothpick even could work, that you can get in behind the actual boot and create some air pockets. You know, they just call it burping. You know, you guys who have installed those know what I'm talking about. Just to burp the air out around the coil connection itself. And then once you do that, they just slid on super easy and you got 2 clicks. You could hear the clicks, you can feel the clicks. There's just no mistaking that they're connected. So the installation of these, it probably took me, I would say 15 minutes to get these puppies off. Just pulling hard and just doing it the right way without breaking them all apart. But it still took about 15 minutes. Getting the new Firecores on, if you take the time out of lubing up the boots and all those kind of things and just getting them ready, once you have them ready, and you can see down there I retained the factory metal shields on the plug ends, but just getting them onto the actual spark plug end and the coil end literally is like 5 to 10 seconds each. I mean, it's 1 click on the bottom, 2 clicks on top once you burp the air, and they went on really easy. And I put on maybe 50 miles since installation, and you know, they stiffen up obviously, and with the heat cycling that goes on, they get tight, which is good. You don't want to move it around anyways. But they're on there nice and tight. And you know, is that worth 60 extra bucks to some people? Probably not, just how easy they could come on and off. Is the rest of the product worth the extra 60 bucks? Depends. You know, if the quality is as good as what everybody says it is, you know, and all these other, you know, teams and companies are using them for their products, why not? You know, I don't mind spending a little bit more to get a good product, especially when it comes to ignition on these cars. They're already pretty finicky with electronics and such. You don't want any problems with the ignition system, any part of the ignition system. So to me, it's still 120 bucks. That's still cheap maintenance. They last a long time. They have a good warranty. The other good thing about these wires, if you look at this one again, the stock one, you can see how short it is, like I said. The one I bought that's specific to LS engines on the site for Firecore, they're just pre-configured for a stock length wire for LS engines. You can see kind of that there's a bend to it, and they're longer than the OEM wires, which is good for me because it helps with installation and taking them off. You have a little more wiggle room and, you know, just room to maneuver, get your hand in there and grab a hold of them instead of having a really short wire and no extra slack to work with. The last thing I'll say about these, I have Cook's headers you've seen in my previous videos. If I shine a light in here, all the plug wires have ample space, as you can mostly see. This specific cylinder, the second one from the back on the passenger side, is the one that gives everybody trouble with Cook's. Sometimes, depending on the plug boots and the plug wires you have, but I'm trying to shine a light in there. You can kind of see there's plenty of daylight you can see between the actual tube and the plug, and that's with coating on there too, so that adds a little bit of thickness as well to the long tubes. But no issues with that. I know some guys go a little crazy with those lava sleeves or those hot sleeves and put it on their plug wires thinking that that's gonna make all the difference in the world. Everything I've read in my experience, as long as you have an air gap between the tubes and the wires, you don't need to worry about sleeving them. Even with the cam and all the aftermarket stuff on this car, It does get hot, hotter than stock, but they're the long tubes are coated, so that helps. But as long as there's an air gap and nothing's touching, if your plug wire is worth anything at all, it shouldn't be melting or having any issues. As long as you can see in between there and you have a little bit of an air gap, like I said. So overall, and the other nice thing is, since these wires are a little bit longer, you can twist them. I just put them a certain way, but you can twist them any way you want to bend them a little bit away from tubes and those kind of things. So that's the benefit of a longer wire as well. But overall, it's a great product. I have had others. I've had MSD wires that work just fine. Stock wires that work just fine. I'm sure Taylor wires are pretty good. I've heard of guys just getting the off-the-shelf ones from AutoZone or O'Reilly's. At the end of the day, they all do the same thing. It's just a matter of the warranty, the quality of the materials, and people's experience with them. So this is a little video that showed my experience with them. So far, so good. Only 50 miles, like I said. But it could be snake oil. It could be just me justifying the purchase in my head. But the car ran great. It didn't run any worse than before, that's for sure. Did it idle smoother? Maybe. Did it run a little smoother? Maybe. Did it add any horsepower? No. I think Firecore's website actually has some dynos and shows a little bit of a horsepower increase, switching from one wire to the next. Whether that's true or not, I don't care. When your car has 600 and some horsepower like this one, an extra 5 isn't going to make a big difference. But if they have shown that is at least even possible on a dyno, that's good for us, right? So maybe I got a couple extra horsepower out of it too. I don't care. That's not why I bought them, but it's just an added benefit if that is actually true. Without tuning, I don't even know how you could even take advantage of that or notice that. But it is what it is. If they say that's what you get out of it and they can prove it, fine. That's not a reason I bought them though. I bought them for the quality and other people's opinions for the most part. And now I'll recommend them to everybody else on the forum or on YouTube or anybody in the club locally. I will recommend them as a good product. If you still like the other ones, that's cool too. But if you have any questions about this video, about the wires, the type I got, specific type I got, or the price or where I got it from, put in the comment section. I'll be happy to reply. Thanks for watching, guys.